We're with Jesse Williams, the founder, director of Sound Running. Previously, he was the head of sports marketing at Brooks for 13 years. And Jesse's my favorite person this week because Sound Running has been putting on these tremendous professional track meets. They're getting the top distance runners in the world. This week they have Jakob Ingebrigtsen and a ton more. This men's 5K is loaded. The women's 1500 is loaded. I'm just very excited. And I was like, wait, we need to talk to Jesse and figure out what's going on, how he's doing these wonderful things. Jesse, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Well, first, let's talk about just the meet this weekend a little bit, and then we'll get into the history of sound. But like this men's 5K, for example, actually, we'll give props to your sponsors because this meet's called. I'm like, Jesse, it's not the track meet, it's track meet at Sound Running. He's like, oh, that's so we can get a title sponsor. I'm like, oh, very smart. But this one is the track meet presented by On Running, right?
Yes.
Well, your 5K is loaded. Jakob Ingebrigtsen highlights, but you got King Chaz, Abdihamid Nur, who I think could run who knows how fast, Nico Young, just Josh Kerr. It's stacked. How do you get these guys for the fields? Is it easy these days because you're established? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I would say the one thing we have going for us right from the get-go was my old position at Brooks. I worked with a lot of the agents and coaches in this world. And so when we put on our first meet 2019, it started with me texting a bunch of agents and coaches and just saying, hey, if we put this on, would you come? And everybody was all in right away. And so getting the athletes is always to some degree, and I don't want to take it for granted, it's been the easier piece of the puzzle. Now getting somebody like Ingebrigtsen or getting the stars to align where everybody's in one event, we just try to set up the schedule and our meets to serve the athlete as best as possible. And in the season, just knowing, okay, people highlight, like when we did our 10 in March, we knew that was starting to become a trend where people wanted to get these longer distance qualifiers to the end of indoor season, rest up, and then open up maybe in May. So we thought, okay, let's do that. So when we were looking at May, we're thinking, well, people are probably trying to get a good 5K qualifier in because some of those people are going to run the 10K at the pre, so which is US champs this year. So we kind of knew this 5K would be good from the get-go. Even back in like February, March, when we were talking to people, kind of thought, and I knew I talked to Dathan and the On crew, and I knew they were targeting it. And, that alone is a good start. So once you have a kind of a good start, a couple people, it comes together. And I think maybe the 10 and people running so fast there in March, maybe that opened a couple eyes as far as like, okay, we want to run fast. This is where we do it. So I'd like to say, it's a bit of luck, but the athletes trust us. So that's part of it as well.
So does Jakob Ingebrigtsen just reach out to you and enter your meet, or did you reach out to him? How do you get a?
Neither. It was actually an agent who works with other athletes. Jakob's agent had reached out and said, hey, we're coming to the US. Is there a place we can maybe run a good 5K or whatever? And this agent had said, yeah, you want to go to Sound Running. And so it was like, it fell into our laps. I mean, I've gotten a bunch of texts and emails the last week about, oh my God, how'd you guys do that? Like, to be fair, I think the quality of the competition and then the fact that people have run fast, I think those two things play in our favor to a pretty large degree in these situations. So I would like to say we did something special, but I guess what we did special was people ran fast at our other meets.
You've picked great locations, great weather. And I think you know how it works coming from your sports marketing background. Athletes want to run fast. Our sport's very unique, right? Stars will go compete in Diamond League events for prize money, require appearance fees for marathons, but they also want to run fast and they'll go compete for free if they have good competition, good weather. It's sort of unique about our sport, right?
Yeah, there's, they bonuses, and a lot of those bonuses are as good or better than the prize money they could win in most competitions. So I think that's a big carrot as well. And we've also, the way the sport's been set up by World Athletics and USATF is um, you got to get some pretty lofty times to make it, to either get the world or Olympic standard, and even to make it to USA's now. So you gotta fit in a fast race somewhere in there.
This 5K, everybody wants to know, what are the rabbits targeting? Are there going to be rabbits? Do you have the wave-like technology? What's the pace going to be?
There are rabbits. We do not have the wave light technology this time. We that was a very nice gift from Tracktown. We borrowed that from the Eugene Tracktown crew for one event. Just because we had talked to them about, hey, basically everybody is going to qualify for your 10K is going to qualify here. Let's use this wave light and get things started. But no, so all 8 on the OAC crew is going to rabbit that 5K. He himself obviously ran whatever 13:0, I think 07, 08 indoors. So he's plenty capable of rabbiting, more than capable of rabbiting. Right now we're setting it at 13:10 pace. What people do with that, we don't know. Most of the people, their goal is to get the standard, the world championship standard, which is 13:13.5 or 13:13. So we're setting it at 13:10. Now, what people do with that, I mean, a lot of the races we've seen negative splits off the pace. When Grant and Mo broke the records, they pretty solid negative split in the 10K. I think last time we did a really good 5K where Grant ran 13:02 and Klecker ran 13:06. They negative split to run that. So I think setting it up at 13:10, you could still see a 13 flat. And with the level of competition we have here, you could see sub 13 even off that pace.
If Grant ran, what was it, 12:53 indoors, and that's crazy. But
yeah,
I think we're gonna see it. We're gonna see a sub 13. I think.
Yeah, it's never happened in California. The California state record is, I think, we set it when Grant ran 13:02.
You have this unique model, pay-per-view. Is it 80% of the money that goes back to the athletes?
Yeah, basically. Like so right now the pay-per-view is like $5.99. Basically, it's $1 transaction fee. When you figure out all costs, so basically $4 out of the 6 goes directly into the prize purse. So you can watch that build as it goes. And then even during the broadcast, which is really cool, fans can get into it. I mean, this is a 13-minute race, or you have sometimes 26, 27-minute races. Fans can get into it and say, oh, I'm putting $50 in right now. These guys are flying. Or these girls are, even, when Elise was out there solo in the 10, just crushing it, like fans are adding to that purse, right? And so it really puts it, I think the pay-per-view model, what I love about it is it puts the fans in charge of the prize purse, and it helps the athletes promote the event because then themselves could benefit from that. So I think if we see that really come to fruition in the right way, there can be paydays like athletes have never seen if they get their fans involved.
It's great. And then on Saturday, you're part of the American Track League.
Yeah. So it's American Track League has, I think, pretty close 8 to 10 events this year, and one of them comes to LA. We're happy to basically say, hey, we already have a track on Friday. Why don't we do this on Saturday? So 2 action-packed days where the distances are all on Friday. Saturday, we have some really great sprint and field event fields. So we're just kind of sharing that resource and hoping to get all the fans involved here in SoCal. I mean, for us, like everything we do in Southern California ladders up to LA 2028, trying to create a fan base here in LA that will follow us.
Yeah, you picked a great location. And also, like, let's talk a little bit about the history of sound. You started in 2018. I think your first event was 2019. You guys kept going during COVID, which I think was great because there weren't opportunities to compete. And I think ultimately that helped you because people kept running fast at your events, and then that feeds on itself. But sound running itself, it's not just putting on events, right? Talk a little bit about history, what sound running is.
Yeah, so we started in 2018, and we originally started trying to build what we thought were better training plans for athletes. Approaching and by athletes, I mean everybody that runs, anybody that runs anything from their local 5K to the Boston Marathon or whatever, thinking that, well, we have a unique approach where how would a pro athlete train for that? Well, those same principles apply to everybody, right? You should practice your hydration. You should practice your nutrition. You should understand what pacing is, and it's just be more thorough. So we started with that. There was a big gap in 2019 where there was about a month where the normal domestic competitions ended, and USA's was late because Doha was like in September. So USA's was like late July. So we kind of put out the word to a bunch of coaches and agents and said, hey, if we put on a meet, would you guys come down? And it was purely just something I thought would be fun to do. We did it. And right when we did it, kind of everything just kind of clicked where because in sports marketing, when I was at Brooks 5 years ago, the mode was you got to summer season and you sent everybody to Europe, and they ran in Belgium or, someplace over in Europe. If they were lucky to get to a diamond league, they got into 1 or 2 diamond leagues. That's fairly rare. Not that many people get into diamond leagues. They usually end up competing in B and C level events in those countries, and then they're all racing each other. It's all a bunch of, 8 out of there 12 people in the field are Americans, and you're like, what are we doing? And so I remember complaining about that in my former job. And as soon as we did that meet in July in 2019, I thought, well, we can do that. We can do a summer series here and bring in sponsors, bring in prize money, keep athletes here domestically, which I think a lot of the sponsors, value. They value these domestic competitions. You get to compete in front of it's just a little bit more visible. I'm not saying competing over in Europe isn't visibility and not good for a brand, but it's out of sight, out of mind to some degree.
It's interesting, like you said, because some of these meets in Europe, sure, the Diamond League, great publicity, TV. You're not going to sound isn't well. I mean, in the US, you get a lot of exposure because the Diamond League doesn't have a lot, but you're not going to match that. But
Right.
like some C-level meet in Europe where 8 of the 10 guys are American, what you guys are doing makes more sense.
And I think financially it's better for the sponsor, it's better for the athlete, their travel budget. We were sending people to Europe, and I felt like this is crazy that we can't put together this race right here in the US. And when we did it, I just thought, okay, this is something sound running should be a part of this. And it was kind of the moment of, okay, these are where like having a business and having a gripe in the sport come together. And like maybe I could have a little bit, sound running could have a little bit to do with at least trying to fix that and create a summer season. And since then, so we started with the Sunset Tour, which since then we've created a couple more events. Now kind of our full calendar is we do the 10 in March, which is a 10K only event. It is 100% a copycat of the Night of 10,000 they do over in the UK. I just thought that was such a cool event, and why can't we do something like that here? So like that's the idea behind that. Is it's a US North American version of that, and in such a perfect climate, it's been pretty successful. Then we have our May event, which is kind of our qualifier. Everybody goes and gets their US standards, their world standards, their Olympic standards. It's a nice piece of the track circuit leading up to USA's. Then we have our 3 Sunset Tour meets, and then to culminate the end of the year, we have our new event, which is the Cross Champs, which the idea is we have all these teams now, all these professional teams. How cool would it be for them to square off in a cross country meet head to head with their full teams? NCAA is obviously one of the coolest events in our sport, and why does cross country end there? So that's something we'll be doing this year down in Austin, actually, as part of the running event.
Oh, great. My parents live in Austin, and I go to the running events some years, but not every year. I'm going now.
It'll be, I mean, our goal is like, we want everybody to take a little share of it. We want every team to show up, and we want everybody to bring their A game and to really do a real cross country championships. And I think last year was a weird year with that 18-month COVID cycle really drained a lot of athletes. And so when they were done with the US champs, or if they made it to Tokyo, when they're done with Tokyo, they were done. And they did not start back real quick. And so like I think the idea of running a 10K cross country meet December, a lot of people were a little gun shy. This year being a World Cross year, uh, correct, right? Yeah, World Cross year. I think we're going to do this in December, make it 8K. And the idea is perfect, kind of setup. They do an 8K here, January, they can do the 10K US champs, and then head to Worlds. So we'll see. But yeah, it's that's our event. I think that could be really, really, really special if it works out. And that's the end of the year. So that's kind of our schedule now.
You have like your own little domestic league isn't the right word, but it's cool. And I think kind of sticking to a regular schedule is good because then people they're just gonna start penciling in these events. Then I think fans, the more I mean, a cross champ's a more sort of not casual runner, but yeah, like club runner can run those, I assume, and kind of I think these I said before we got on the air that you've replaced in some ways the Stanford Cardinal meet. I mean, it existed this weekend, but the pros don't have to go there anymore. And I think, down the road, like this cross country thing could be maybe it's the gathering for distance fans in America or something like that.
I hope so. I mean, part of the reason with partnering with the running event is that is the gathering of the running uh, stores, companies, like every brand, everybody that's like race directors now, a lot of people, everybody's there in Austin that weekend. So we really have a built-in fan base for the event as well. So why not bring all the athletes and go big?
Yeah, it sounds great. And the running event, it's a bunch of shoe companies and shoe stores coming together. You were at Brooks. You had a great job. What prompted you to leave that world? I think a lot of people, I don't know, they want to go work for shoe companies, stay in those roles. Kind of
Yeah.
what prompted you to start your own thing?
It's funny to say because I always say that I had my dream job, which I did. I mean, if you would ask me in college that I could be doing that job, working with professional athletes, um, at a running company in a great city with a family of employees and friends, um, I would have been ecstatic, and I loved it. But I was always happiest at Brooks when I was creating something new or had a new idea and we could run with it or do whatever. And we were small, and I felt like I always wanted to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And it was slower moving than I think I wanted, but that's the corporate world. The great thing with sound running is if I have an idea, whether it's good or bad, I can try it tomorrow, and it can not work or it can work, but it's kind of on me. And I just wanted the freedom to maybe try that. And it was really scary to leave, and sad because those are some of my best friends and people I knew for a decade I worked with, became family. But what you get out of like trying to create and do all these different things, is pretty special. And the lucky side is now, because we're doing these events and because we're still in running, I can still work with all those people, whether it's sponsorships or it's aligning in other things and projects. I've still been able to kind of go back and get the part of that world that I liked. So it's kind of come together pretty, in a pretty nice way. But I would say, the hardest part, when you're in a corporate world, is it just moves really slowly. And, Brooks is about as successful as a running company could be, especially right now. They're just hitting it off cylinders. And so still really proud to have been there. When I talk about Brooks, I say we all the time still, because it's still, like I said it so long. But I do like the idea that we can do something special for the sport here and hopefully leave our mark in the sport. And yeah, it's a lot of freedom to do whatever we kind of want and to try new things.
Yeah, I'm glad you made that decision. I think the running world's glad as well. And you said some things haven't gone well. Well, I don't know what they are because it's from an outsider's perspective, it seems like your meets have gone
Leave
great.
those under the carpet. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sure you're busy this weekend, so I'll let you go, but appreciate it. And I want to start talking to more people like yourself who are kind of creating new things, experimenting. You know, you said you're not afraid to fail. I don't see any failure, but so keep it up.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you guys. And it's gonna be an exciting weekend. So tune in.
and our former intern, the Let's Run intern, Carl Winters, in the B1500. So
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
he said he's going to interview people afterwards in the 5K. So we're happy for that. So
He's in a really good 1500. It's the B section, but it's full of 337, 338, 339 guys, and it's going to be paced well. So who knows?
yeah, and I think Colin Solomon. So
Yeah. So
if he loses
Carl,
the high score, he's in trouble.
yeah. Well, I can't imagine you guys will let him come in after that. So,
All right. Good talking to you.
all right. Thanks. Appreciate it.